All right.
All right. So
What you think? What you think of the book?
I didn't finish it.
You didn't? Why not?
I couldn't. I just couldn't get. I couldn't get
Really?
through it. I started it and it bounced all over the place. The guy, suddenly I was back in the war with him. I just couldn't. I
Well,
could, and I remember something that Tara said. Life is too short to read a bad book, so I stopped. I just stopped. I just couldn't. It was all over the place, and finally I said this is too much like work, and I didn't finish it.
I had a note to myself like the military stuff was so dull and poorly written that it was what did I say? It's better than a sleeping pill. It cured my insomnia. It was just I don't understand. I mean, it was so bad. I couldn't understand how not only did they buy this book, but they bought a sequel.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. I hated it so much.
did you really? Wow.
It was, I knew from paragraph when there was a mistake between, well, not necessarily a mistake, but in the first paragraph of the very first page, he mentions two characters and then introduces them in the second paragraph.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh boy, this doesn't bode well. When, obviously you need to introduce them first, not talk about, I'm going, okay, that doesn't bode well. And but I have like,
and I was thinking when I was thinking about this book, I was thinking about, I know nothing about Norway. I know nothing but it doesn't really matter because there was a book called This Bloody Mary is the Last Thing I Own, and it was about boxing. I know nothing about boxing, nor do I care about boxing. Phenomenal book. The book made me care about boxing. And there's so many books like that. I don't know anything about Norway, but you could have made me care about it. But I didn't care about him, and I just didn't. Maybe if it lured me in, but he wasn't likable, and I just didn't care.
Well, there were so many characters, and not one of them had any sort of development. Like, like all of a sudden on like page 84, suddenly now we're in the villain's mind, and all of a sudden now here, and it was just like there was no. It was like the author had no idea how to use point of view. It's like sometimes it was omniscient, and then suddenly no, we're only in this one's head, and then suddenly, and it was just like, oh my god. And was there any editing done whatsoever? Because that's not okay. You can't just be bouncing around out of nowhere. Like at one point I wrote down that it said the topics jump around so much with no rhyme or reason. It felt like being in a demented person's mind, but not like it was intentional. Because I was like, the guy is demented, and if like that had been intentional and they were trying to capture what it's like to be in his mind, could have been brilliant. But that wasn't. That's not on purpose. It's just he doesn't. I think maybe this guy's a little demented. Is the only thing I can think of. It's like there's no like it's so wacky back and forth, and there's no cohesion to it whatsoever. It was just the narration. That's why the narration was so confused. It was like the writer wasn't sure how to tell the story or how to pick a point of view. That's my note.
That would have been interesting though, if you could have pulled you into what it feels like to be
I would love
a
that
man with
book.
Dementia.
Yeah,
that would have been amazing. Because that's a lot of work.
It would be really, really hard to do, but
but
still, that would be like, that would
you
be
guys
amazing.
Did you ever read As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner? No.
I think a long time ago.
Yeah, so he obviously, he was a master of putting, a master point of view. Right. And As I Lay Dying was partly in the point of view of essentially a retarded child, so
about that,
so it just made me think. You can't escape the fact when you start reading that book that you're in the mind of someone who's not normal, right? Here, I definitely got the sense that he was trying to portray, tell this story of someone who is going through, has some problems with dementia, but also has, you know, some brilliance. He's a watchmaker, or he's a watch repair man, and he's, you know, a former Marine, right? And I guess he shot people in
Well, see,
Korea.
you don't. I think that's the part where I stopped when the wife was saying, "You were a bookkeeper. What are you talking about?" And then he's
And we
having
don't
all these
really know
flashbacks
what's
of
the
killing
truth.
people. So I couldn't. That's
Well,
where I
because he
finally
didn't tell
figured
them.
out. Yeah. So I just
He
couldn't
wouldn't.
figure out.
He didn't want to tell. He didn't want to admit, because he just couldn't. He couldn't
But I
deal with.
thought he told the wife, and again, I didn't read very far, but I thought he told the wife, "I killed 3 people," and then later she was screaming at him, saying, "You're a liar! You didn't kill anybody. You were a bookkeeper or whatever." Did I? Was that? I could have got that part wrong.
He has. Well, he has dementia, right? So.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing, like, you know, which is the lie? Was he really the bookkeeper?
Well, that's what's interesting.
And I think the point for me was, I don't care, because he's not interesting enough to me to want to know.
So he didn't. The fact that he was trying to rescue this young boy didn't get your sympathy at all.
No, I mean the boy was a mute, and the whole situation, we don't really understand what's going on. It's never really explained very well. And it's just like this. It's basically this crazy old guy who basically kidnaps a child. And really, I mean, you got to look at it this way. If he wasn't just doing it for his own fun and craziness, he would have just gone to the police. Matter over, you know what I mean? It's messed up. We're basically watching this crazy old man kidnap a child whose name he doesn't know, whose language he doesn't speak. It's messed up. I mean, he's putting this child in even more danger than he's already.
There's a lot of books that are very seriously messed up. I mean, in terms of plot,
yeah, but you know, I don't think
pretty much all of them are. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I don't know. There's like.
I didn't mind it so much. I really didn't.
I don't know. It's just like I found myself like jotting things down in the margin, going, I'm proud of myself that I finished it.
There is a lot of tense issues. I mean, it shifts back and forth pretty quickly. It goes from the past tense to the present tense. It shifts in points of view.
First person, second person, all within one page spreads. Like, oh my God, just pick a voice and stick with it. Mm-hmm. It's you know, it's like some writers can pull that off, you know, when it's a fast paced, really, you know, has you on the edge of your seat book. But this was so slow paced. Like, even I wrote down like where is it? You know, here. Oh, page 270, slowest book climax ever. I was just like reading, going, oh my God, this is like the climax of the book. And I'm like, trudging, like, please let it just be over. Oh my God. And then really just barely, it just like, it ends like, it's just, and then like to know there's another book, I'm going, oh my God, it just kind of like fizzled out.
Oh, the story is continued, or another book from the same author?
There's a whole other book about the female detective who's even less developed than any of the other characters.
Right.
Which is really weird. It's like giving the spin-off to like the weird character that shows up in one episode on a popular series, you know? It's weird. I feel like I got the sense that the author must read a lot of like those old school, like Pulp Fiction kind of thrillers that are written in that really bad omniscient narration. And like all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, you'll find out what the villain's thinking. And like, you know that you're in for a bad book when that happens. Because like, you know, if you want to know, it's great to be in the villain's head, but have that at the beginning too. You know, we need to know he needs to be, he can't show up at page 200 and suddenly he's a main character. That's messed up, you know? But it just, I felt like, you know, it reminded me of like those books from like the 60s and 70s that you get like at the, you know, the used bookstore, and you're reading it and you're going, oh my God, this is cheesy. Like that's what it reminded me of. With the really, it's always the really bad omniscient narration. That's how it.
I wonder how many copies it sold. There's no way to know how many.
There really isn't. I mean, because what they, you know, they're not under any obligation to tell us the truth.
Right? No, they're not. Yeah.
But
I mean, you can tell something by the Amazon ranking, right? But you'd have to do I don't know what that really tells you.
But yeah. But
I wonder what the print run was though. The print run,
I hope
I was
so.
just curious. Did they lose money on it? Hard to
I don't know.
say.
Well, I guess that's a good. The question is, I mean, because it was published in what 2012. That was another thing. Like he kept talking about the guy changing the SIM cards and the phone. I'm like, and I'm looking at it going, like, what is this from like 2001 or something? And I look,
Right,
it's
right, right.
2012. I'm like,
Mhm.
what villain is sitting around changing SIM cards? Who's not just carrying a bunch of burners? I'm like,
Right.
I shouldn't know more about criminal behavior than a guy who's writing about crime.
Right.
It's just
Right.
weird that he wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
That's not how.
I mean,
it's
that's like drug dealer 101.
right. You
Get
don't.
get the $39 burner.
SIM card. That's messed up. That's
right.
Especially when there's bodies lying in the road. Are you going to sit there in the car?
Yeah.
Your SIM card. What are you talking about? That's messed up. But yeah, I'm now I'm curious though. I kind of want to go to Amazon and see when that other book came out and if there was ever a third one or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Because let me see. My computer is so slow today. I've got 95 tabs open. Okay, American by Day is the second book that came out. There's a book in 2020. Oh no, let's see, maybe we'll see. The Girl in Green, it came out in June of 2020. But let's see. It's the same publisher.
I
So
don't know.
clearly, I mean, they must think it's, I mean, well, I guess, well, there's no accounting for taste. But I don't like it.
All right.
Oh, I guess it says
I didn't-
2017, but this must be the paperback. I don't know, but yikes.
All right. Well,
Not for me.
so what's the next book then? Have we decided? That's
Yeah. Everett is picking this month, and well, Everett gave us 4 choices, and it was the
11/22/63.
the Stephen King.
Stephen King. Okay, good.
And we're not going to meet until I'm gonna put pick a date tomorrow, but probably like
January?
early to mid-January to give us a little
That'd be
extra
good.
time. Yeah,
It's
That'd be
a
good.
big,
because
it's a
it's a
big
long book.
Yeah.
So
Well, you
My
would like
only
this book.
I think it's the great American novel. I think it's the most
Okay.
un-Stephen King there's ever been. My
Okay.
only concern with it, is I've done the book on tape of this book probably 7 or 8 times. And the guy that does it is so off the charts, amazingly incredible. I mean, it's like Angela's Ashes. Frank McCourt narrated Angela's Ashes, and he's got every accent and every voice and every sound effect. And the guy that did this, I can't think of a character without thinking of this narrator's accent for him, and how he does the janitor, and how he does
Wow.
Hal, and so my only thing is, I think it's one of the greatest novels I've ever read in my life, but I can't go back now and read the novel because I've got the book on tape in my head. So I hope that the written word is as good as that is, because it's probably, as far as a book on tape is, as good as it gets.
Oh, you never read the book? You only heard
I've
it?
never read the physical book.
Wow.
Never read the physical book.
Oh, this is going to be interesting to hear you talk
And there
about.
were so it's going to be an interesting debate. And there were times, many times, the first time I finished it, I went through withdrawal because those characters are gone and I missed them, that I started it over again. So I listened to it like twice right away, but
Wow.
I've never read the physical word. So I hope it holds up, because the book on tape
Wow, it's gonna be
was
interesting.
without a doubt as good as it gets.
Wow, that's great. Well, I'm
And
looking
I
forward
was
to
just
reading it.
telling
That'll be
Debbie,
fun.
me too.
yeah, Debbie and I were just talking. It's almost like if like a third into it, where everything starts, you could have ended it there, and you would have said, "Wow, what a great book." But it just that it's and then it just keeps growing. I mean, if you stopped it at like page 300, you would have said, "Oh, wow, that's nice. I hope he makes it, and I hope he does everything." But it just keeps growing and growing, and the characters. Now, when you're done, I have listened to it 310 times, so there are continuity issues that we can discuss. But I think it's written well, but I think it's married to probably one of the best narrators I've ever heard.
Okay. Gonna be my holiday reading.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Okay, cool. All right. That'll be fun. And then we have a meeting, right? Coming up in December?
Meeting December 3rd. Whenever that is. That's what is the I'm so,
It's 2 weeks.
I'm so sorry. Isn't it already? Wow.
Is it 2 weeks from today?
Yeah,
It's a
2 weeks
Thursday,
from
right?
today.
Weeks from today.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And do you want us to show up with anything? Are you gonna send something through beforehand?
I'm going to try to do an agenda, just, something simple a few days before, but I think this
Okay.
first one, it's really just going to kind of be so everybody can say hello. And, although, I mean, I didn't expect everybody to show up at the happy hour last week. So,
That was amazing.
so that was, so this meeting was going to take the place of that, but we might not need it as much. But we'll see. So maybe we'll actually talk about some, brainstorm some ideas or whatever, but.
That's good. All right.
I'm going
December
to stop
3rd.
recording because I don't want to,
Yep.
us to talk about business on book club in case I post this.
Good thinking.
But,
All right.
all right, well then I'm going to call it short tonight because
Yeah,
I could
you go
stand
up and
to
feel
use the
better, yeah.
rest.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
All
Go
right,
have a
well,
hot toddy with some whiskey in it.
There you go.
delightful,
Yeah.
but I have to work tomorrow.
I know. All right, well, you guys have a good weekend. Good talking to you.
All right. Good to see you.
Have a good weekend. Talk to you
See ya.
soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.